Presidents and friends of the Asian Development Bank, distinguished guests, thank you for inviting me to speak with you today amongst an incredible lineup of speakers. I'm grateful to represent GRAB at this event. The fight against COVID-19 has been tough for Southeast Asia. It has tested the preparedness and resilience of businesses, societies, and governments alike. This virus has also ushered in the greatest rise in economic inequality in decades, and its impact is still playing out across the region. Nevertheless, I'm hopeful that with rising vaccination rates, the region will soon transition out of the pandemic. And as we embark on the path towards rebuilding and recovery, we need to think about how the public and private sector can strengthen our economic and social systems in the wake of this pandemic. So in my keynote today, I would like to touch on 3 key points that we in this forum, leaders of organizations in the public and private sectors, can do to reverse inequality and bolster the resilience of the region's economy. First, we should accelerate the buildup of digital capabilities. Even before the pandemic, digital marketplaces were gaining momentum in Southeast Asia. And as countries moved into COVID-19 lockdowns, this trend further accelerated. Many small offline business owners, including wet market vendors, street hawkers, and farmers, had to rapidly come online to sustain their livelihoods. And having been at the front lines of these efforts, GRAB saw firsthand how the digital transition was challenging for many small businesses. And the truth is, it is not just about getting them registered on an app or a digital service, and then expecting magic to happen on its own right after. We must also take steps to ensure that they are equipped to harness the true potential of these digital tools. And one way of doing this is to invest in digital literacy and education. There are many good examples from the tech ecosystem that we can learn from. At GRAB, we collaborated with the Singaporean government at the peak of the COVID-19 lockdowns to create and run virtual training programs for small food and beverage merchants and local hawkers so that they have the skills to operate an online business. We also worked with Microsoft to run over 550,000 digital literacy programs for our driver partners. Southeast Asia is nevertheless still only at the beginning of this digitalization journey, and there is still so much more to do. For example, the Tech for Good Institute's latest report on digital adoption showed that even though 85% of micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, surveyed recognize that the digital platforms are critical for their future successes, only 36% of them participate in them. It is thus imperative that governments and the private sector work together to arm individual and small businesses with the knowledge and tools to thrive online. Second, we should leverage fintech innovation to serve vulnerable groups. Today, there is a huge financial services gap in Southeast Asia. More than 6 in 10 Southeast Asians remain underbanked or unbanked today. In other words, they do not have bank accounts or access to modern financial services, such as loans and credit cards. In addition, 60% of MSMEs surveyed were unable to get a loan when they needed financing. So we need to close this gap urgently. Individuals without business and businesses without access to financial services have less financial security and stability. So those without access to interest-bearing savings accounts are less able to protect their savings from inflation, and also those without access to loans and insurance services are less equipped to ride out short-term cash flow issues or unforeseen circumstances. For businesses, lack of easy access to capital could also mean that they are unable to invest in growth opportunities. The good news is that tech advancements have provided us with new tools to break down the barriers to financial inclusion. And I would like to highlight 2 such advancements. First, Fintech firms are now able to leverage big data to help individuals and businesses build up a credit profile. For example, Grab is able to look at new, previously unavailable data points like purchase histories, driver earning profiles, and merchant revenues to determine the creditworthiness of our users and partners. Second, fintech advancements have also enabled the fractionalization of large expenses. Insurance is a big use case. With more accurate and precise data, we are now able to break up larger payments into smaller bite-sized payments. Some insurers have also begun to offer usage-based personal accident insurance for gig workers through hourly micro premiums. And in Grab's case, our drivers in Singapore may now pay as little as 30 cents per trip to accumulate insurance coverage for up to $200,000. This makes premiums more affordable and also offers greater flexibility for gig workers who can pay for coverage based on their exact working periods. And these advancements are just the tip of the iceberg. We have plenty to be hopeful about as the world starts embracing buy now, pay later solutions, or even next generation cryptocurrency platforms, although these need to be rolled out in a socially responsible and thoughtful manner. The key is around how we will put our best minds together and harness these advancements towards the goal of ultimately driving up financial inclusion. Third, we must engage in greater public-private collaboration. This is where some of the most profound and impactful transformations can arise. Governments, institutions, tech firms, investors are just some of the groups with the resources, know-how, influence, and energy to drive the region's trajectory. When we come together, we've seen just how profound the impact can be. We are grateful for partnerships with governments around the world and the region around various digitalization initiatives to date. For example, in Indonesia, we worked with the Ministry of Cooperatives and Small and Medium Enterprises to expedite the onboarding and verification of new MSMEs under the ministry onto the Grab ecosystem. And in the Philippines, we partnered with the Department of Agriculture to enable farmers to sell their produce online during the pandemic, with the Grab Express delivery service fulfilling those orders for thousands across Metro Manila in need of everyday supplies. In the rapidly evolving post-COVID world, our challenge is to further accelerate such public-private collaborations. This can be enhanced by experimental mindsets to policy making. One that embraces more fluidity and is underpinned by a consultative relationship with the private sector. This approach will not only fuel innovation and growth, but will ensure policies are relevant and targeted without creating unintended regulatory barriers to entry that are disproportionate to the risks at hand. And sandboxes are a prime example of a nuanced regulatory approach. Policymakers can also collaborate with fintech companies to test innovations and gather more realistic feedback on the implications of new technologies. This has been effectively deployed by governments across the region, such as in Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. At the ASEAN level, I'm encouraged by the promise of the Regional Cooperation for Economic Partnership, or RCEP, which came into effect earlier this year. The multilateral agreement will pave the way for further dialogue and alignment of policies amongst ASEAN members on key digital economic issues, and I'm confident that the private sector can add much to the conversation. This will help unlock Southeast Asia's overall potential in the digital economy and assert ASEAN's importance globally. We in the region, public and private sector, have a solid foundation of active collaborations. We need to keep up with the speed of change and disruptions that have been set off by COVID and global tech advancements. So to do so effectively, we should build on these foundations with more fluid and innovative approaches to problem solving and policy development. Strong and early collaboration between various stakeholders will ensure that policies remain relevant, and effectively reap opportunities and balance the risks of a digital economy. In summary, while COVID-19 has disrupted our way of life in so many ways, it has also given us a chance to reevaluate the way we function, adapt, and rebuild a new regional order. We must not waste this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We should take this opportunity to rebuild our economic and social systems to be more inclusive and resilient while doing it fast. I encourage all stakeholders who are committed to driving Southeast Asia's agenda to step forward, share ideas, and join forces to turn them into reality.